Thank you all very much for showing up tonight. Thank you also Jan and Aline and David for having me talk about Costa Rica. As I said earlier, it gave me a really great opportunity while going through all my pictures from our wonderful trip to relive the trip because it was terrific. I don't know if you can tell from this photo, but Costa Rica is kind of a pretty place. It's a gorgeous country. It has a lot of different environmental habitats. It's got cloud forests, it's got beaches, tropical forests, rainforests, you name it. And because of that, it's got lots of birds and lots of wildlife. It's a wonderful place to visit. The people are wonderful. They love Americans. It's a terrific place to visit. And so without further ado, we'll get going on this. The reason, okay, hang on a second. Oh, thank God. The reason that we went was because of Bob Shanman. And as this picture demonstrates, Bob can strike up a conversation with just about anybody. This was taken in the Hotel Bougainvillea garden, our first place that we stopped. And I think the garden and the grounds of the Hotel Bougainvillea, it's in Santo Domingo, outside of San Jose, the capital. It could be a birding destination by itself. It's a phenomenal spot. It's really beautiful. And thanks to Bob, who loves going to Costa Rica, we joined a small group. I think there were 12 of us. And so the first few pictures were taken in the grounds of this hotel in Costa Rica. So there's butterflies. This is a little frosted flasher. It's a type of skipper. And this one's called a crimson patch butterfly. And this one is some version of a heliconia. And I'm putting these up because I know birders, we're birding in the morning. And when it gets kind of hot and the birds kind of go down, then the butterflies come up. And anything that flies and is pretty, we like to take pictures of or look at. So there were lots of beautiful butterflies. There's also some pretty cool birds. This is a rufous collared sparrow. And I've noticed these, and we saw these in Peru as well. I think this is kind of like maybe our white-crowned sparrow. It seems to be all over Central America, maybe South America. Real pretty little sparrow, pretty common. This, on the other hand, is called a brown jay. It's a really large jay that was in the gardens there. And I'm having a little bit of an issue with my keystrokes here for some reason. And I apologize for that. I don't know why it's doing that. This was sitting out in the garden at the hotel. So this is an example of the kind of birds you can see in Costa Rica just in town. This is a motmot. It's called a turquoise browed motmot. And there's a number of different motmots in Costa Rica. One of my favorite groups of birds are the wrens, and this one's a rufous naped wren, which was just sitting in the bushes right by the hotel. There are birds that we recognize from California, like the yellow warbler. And then this bird is also pretty much all over Costa Rica, I guess. It's a great kiskadee. And I think it's sort of like our kingbirds, maybe. Really beautiful bird. After spending a day and a half there or something like that, we headed to the Savegre Valley, and it's an oak tropical cloud forest that is really famous for the bird that kind of identifies Costa Rica, the quetzal. And we stayed at this really cool hotel called the Savegre Hotel alongside the Savegre River. And so this river has cut a big, deep canyon through the mountains there over the years. There's a little tiny bird that's kind of like our American dipper called a torrent pteranulate, little tiny guy that acts a lot like the dipper, but I'm pretty sure it doesn't swim underwater like our dipper does. But it sort of takes up that kind of rushing water habitat. There's birds called flower piercers. This is a slaty flower piercer. And they pick at the base of these flowers to get the nectar instead of doing like hummingbirds to get the nectar. There's lots of tanagers. This is a flame-colored tanager. This is a female. And this is the male, the flame-colored tanager male. Really beautiful birds. Lots and lots of hummingbirds. And thank goodness for Noel Urena, our bird guide, because they're very difficult for me to identify independently. This one is a purple-throated mountain gem, whereas this one is the volcano hummingbird, which kind of looks like an Anna's hummingbird to me. This one is the green violet ear hummingbird. This one is the scintillant hummingbird. And these were all kind of around the hotel and in the trees and the flowers nearby, and they had some hummingbird feeders as well. This one is the striped-tailed hummingbird. And this one is the Bob Shanman birder. So this is the vehicle that we used when we were in Savegre to drive all over the Savegre Valley and into the mountains. We went up to these overlooks and could look out over the forest and use our scopes and cameras and binoculars. There's lots of birds like this guy. It's called a large-footed finch. And this one that we all know, we see them here. There's a lot of them at Catalina Island even. They are acorn woodpecker. This one was one of my favorites. It's called a sooty-capped bush tanager. This one is a sooty thrush. And then the flycatchers. I don't know about you, but I have a very difficult time IDing all the different flycatchers. And when you go to Costa Rica, it really gets difficult. This one is called the mountain Elania. This one is a Philadelphia warbler. So we have, that's ones that are on the East Coast more, I guess. This little flycatchers are yellowish flycatcher. And this one's the tufted flycatcher. These were all in a relatively small area around the Savegre Hotel. We did walks where we'd walk for 45 minutes, maybe an hour in one direction at the most, and we're seeing all these different species. It was pretty amazing. So this is another wren, and this is a pardon me for a second, I lost him. Gray-breasted wood wren, a gray-breasted wood wren. This is our rufous-collared sparrow again. This little guy is a redstart. This is the collared redstart. I'm having some trouble with my computer. Forgive me on that. Let's see here. I apologize for that. Not sure what's going on with my computer, but anyway, this is a black vulture. And this is a bunch of us looking out over the valley, looking at all these beautiful birds. And this is a point where I'm going to say, if you see pictures in this show that have humans in them, Deanna took the pictures. So thank goodness that she's around, because I'm always focused on the long lens photography, and I fail often to take these pictures that really give us an idea of what we're doing. And so most of these pictures of people, and then also maybe some butterflies and flowers and stuff, Deanna took. So here we are in an overlook in the rainforest. We did a little bit of owling at night, and thanks to Noel, and obviously with a big light, we found this bare-shanked screech owl, which was pretty cool. And the reason you go to the Savegre Valley, and for a lot of people, the reason you go to Costa Rica is to see this resplendent quetzal. Here's another shot of it. And this is an amazing, beautiful bird. We spent quite a few hours looking for these birds. They really feast on native avocados, which are not like the ones we buy, they're smaller. And we actually, at one point, we all chipped in a little bit of money and went to a farm where the guy let us come to his property, and we sat under the trees where he had avocado trees waiting for the quetzals, and that's where we got these pictures. Really incredible bird. This is a shot just so that Savegre is partly a cloud forest, and in some points we got up really high, really beautiful scenery. We then took off to Cano Negro, and this is in the Northwest Caribbean slope. So it's on the Caribbean side of Costa Rica. And if you know anything about Costa Rica, so it's kind of a funny country. It has a Pacific coast, and then it goes up to incredibly high mountains. And then you go down the other side of the mountains and you go to the Caribbean side. So it has Pacific and Caribbean in one small country, and with all kinds of different habitats. So Cano Negro is in the Arenal Conservation Area, and it's much warmer and more tropical. So Cano Negro, lots of water, lots of rivers and streams. And Bob, once again, is hanging out with the locals here. This is what the countryside looks like. This is in town in Cano Negro. Pretty cool. We stayed at a really nice hotel in Cano Negro, Hotel de Campo. And just walking distance from Hotel de Campo is this wetlands. And there's jacanas and egrets and all kinds of stuff. So this is called a groove-billed Annie, A-N-I, groove-billed Annie, kind of a funny looking little blackbird. And then I know you all know this one, it's our green heron. This is a pale vented pigeon. This is one we've all seen, red-winged blackbird. So it's interesting to see birds that we're familiar with in California down in Costa Rica, and it highlights the fact that how much these birds migrate, a lot of them. This is a phalarope. I think it's a redneck phalarope. And this is a caiman, a spectacled caiman. I want to make sure I didn't lose anything. Yes, I did. Yellow-billed Elania. This is another flycatcher. And another thing that's interesting is lots of horses running around seemingly with nobody controlling them, no fences. It was kind of, we'd see sometimes a whole herd of them, I guess, running down the road. So we've got neotropic cormorants. My computer is giving me some trouble. I apologize. Here we go. This is how we got around a lot of the water at Cano Negro on these boats. It's kind of like the Disneyland adventure cruise, only for real. Overhead, roseate spoonbills, lots of kingfishers. This is the Amazon kingfisher. And this was one of my favorite birds that we saw, besides the quetzal, was this boat-billed heron up in the tree. Black-crowned night heron juvenile that we all are aware of. And here's the adult, of course. They're here also. And then there's the dinosaurs. We got this green iguana, really beautiful. Another kingfisher. This is a green and rufous kingfisher, and it's really small. It's maybe the size of a sparrow or a little bit larger. Up ahead, up in the trees, we've got howler monkeys. And this bird is a very unusual bird. It's called a hobbyroo, I believe it is. Or it's jobbyroo. I think it's hobbyroo. It's a stork. And when I was looking at the Costa Rica bird book about this, it says it's found apparently only in Cano Negro and Palo Verde, which is another area of Costa Rica. And it's considered very uncommon. And I think we could call it endangered, I have a feeling. And this is a nesting hobbyroo, really, really huge stork. And this picture, we were on the road and there was a fence. It was private property, and this tree was probably 200 yards away. So this picture was taken from a great distance. But it was exciting to see a Habiru because this is a very unusual bird, really beautiful and strange. Come on, computer, thank you. I just jumped a bunch. I'm going to go back. So this is a type of seed eater. This is a male, black-headed, excuse me, a white-collared seed eater, and this is the female white-collared seed eater. This is a sungrebe. It's a pretty unusual bird. Even Noel was excited when we spotted this one in the river. This belongs to, there's only 3 members of this family of birds. One is this one. There's one in Africa, and there's one in Asia. It's called a sungrebe. This is a green basilisk right along the river. This is a trogon, which is another bird related to the quetzal, black-headed trogon. And this is also a black-headed trogon. You can see how different they look from the back and the front. Really amazing looking birds. This is a little Pacific screech owl that was in the middle of an old telephone pole. This is Hoffman's. These are Hoffman's woodpeckers. This is another warbler that's seen mostly, I guess, on the East Coast, but I guess we can see them here once in a while. Prothonotary warbler. And this is mating iguanas up in the tree. And of course, anhingas, we see anhingas in Florida. They're kind of related to cormorants. They call them snake birds sometimes. And this was another really special bird everybody was excited about, yellow-breasted crake. This is our wood stork, much more common than the Habiru, another really big bird. And this is I'm losing my track because my computer's messing me up. I'm sorry, southern lapwing. And another kingfisher. This is the ringed kingfisher. So this is what you can expect if you're in the rainforest or in the tropics. We had a number of days where it was raining. Your group, if you're going, will obviously know how to take care of you. They provide raincoats if you don't have them, and we would go out in the rain because you'd see a lot of stuff in the rain. But usually we had this kind of weather, really beautiful. So this is a common slider turtle. This is what our hotel restaurant area looked like, real open air. This is where we would go over what birds we saw and what was next in for our next adventure. This little toad was sitting on the floor in the restaurant. And a lot of the evenings were really beautiful. So with a little help, yeah, we go. Now we're heading to Guanacaste Province in the northwest of Costa Rica. And so you can see the western slopes are a lot drier than the eastern slopes, which are influenced by the Caribbean, apparently. And so the Pacific is much drier. It's kind of a lot of grasslands, woodlands, things like that. And along the road, there are these markets with lots of produce. We stopped at an area with these water ponds, and here's Noel checking everything out for us. And as you can imagine, there's all kinds of water birds, shorebirds in this area. Some semi-palmated plovers. And this was a great crested flycatcher. And looking in the grass, you had to really look closely, are these double striped thick knee. So when you go to Costa Rica, they have all these weird names of birds. There's a whole group of birds called thick knees. And this again, they were maybe 100 yards away in the grass. This is a white-throated, white-lored gnatcatcher. And a crested caracara, this big hawk-like bird. And this one is our white-throated magpie jay. So this is a jay that's a monster and really beautiful. Scissor-tail flycatcher. And this is a streak-backed oriole. That was a first for me, a streak-backed oriole. A first for me. If you go on a trip like this, if it's the first time you've gone with a birder, you're going to pick up 20, 30, 40 life birds. At least I did every day, because almost every bird is something you've never seen before, which is really great. This is another one. This is a mangrove warbler, which is, I guess, a version of the yellow warbler, but with that really dark brown head. And this is a laughing falcon, and they were fairly common along the roadsides, kind of maybe the size of a Cooper's hawk, something like that. We then headed up to the Celeste Mountain Lodge near the Tenorio volcano. And this lodge was unbelievable. It was really beautiful. They have a 2-kilometer trail in an untouched actual primary rainforest. So there are rainforests that have never been logged, and that makes for really an amazing experience. And so right near this mountain lodge, we were able to walk in an untouched rainforest, which is pretty cool. So we were really roughing it, as you can tell. This is the lodge. And it was just kind of spectacular, to say the least. The owner had a chef, or maybe the owner was a chef, who was from, I believe, from Europe, and the food was gourmet. And so we're up on this second or third floor looking out on this. This was the view from that spot. And these are volcanoes in the distance. And the grounds, again, kind of like that Bougainvillea Hotel, the grounds were phenomenal. But they're in the jungle. Are these birds called ant birds, which are really hard to find. And when you find them, generally you're standing in a pile of ants for a good reason. They follow the ants. They're very secretive birds, and we were very fortunate to find some ant birds. So this is the ocellated ant bird. And this one is I'm not sure, it's either the blue lord or it's the bicolored ant bird. And here's another version of that guy. I'm thinking blue lord because of the lures, but very unusual, very difficult to find an ant bird. So we were very fortunate, thanks to Noel. So this is what the countryside looks like. Again, it's just paradise. It's just gorgeous. Deanna came upon Larry, Mo, and Curly sitting out there by the lodge. We had a good time. We were a good group. So back to the birds. This is called a purple-crowned fairy, a big hummingbird. There's a real pretty green honey creeper. And again, a lot of these pictures, the bird was 50 yards, 100 yards away. So a lot of birding, you're looking for fairly far away, or it's deep in the shadows. So you want to have good binoculars, of course, at least if you can. A really cool thing about these forests is bromeliads and all these different plants growing high in the trees. This is called a rufous mourner, another kind of unusual bird, I believe, a rufous mourner. And another trogon. This is our black-throated trogon. Looking up, we did see a lot of raptors, including this beautiful ornate hawk eagle and a gray hawk and toucan. So these are classic tropical rainforest birds. These are keel-billed toucans, those are crazy bills. and another trogon. This is the elegant trogon. So all these trogons in that Quetzal are kind of the signature birds of Costa Rica. They're really amazing. So this is how we traveled all over our trip through Costa Rica in this very nice bus. And as you can see, Deanna's not in the picture for a reason. She took the picture. Thank you, Deanna. And here we are going along on our magical mystery tour. And we ended up kind of on a whim. They decided, let's take this. And we went to this place called the Del Toro Waterfalls, or Cataracta del Toro Waterfalls. And this place was on a whim. We decided to go there for lunch, I think it was. And it turned out to be one of the best places we went the whole trip. It was unbelievable. Come on, computer. This is what it looks like around this place. It's absolutely the Garden of Eden. So beautiful with all these waterfalls. Yeah. And lots of hummingbirds. So this one is the black-bellied. This one is the green hermit. This one is the green-crowned brilliant. I hope you can see why I have to read this, because these are all they're very challenging to identify independently. This one is the coppery-headed emerald. Beautiful little bird. And trying to get to this one, the violet-crowned wood nymph. And this one's the white-necked Jacobin. And the long-billed hermit. All of these hummingbirds were at this one spot, and they were all over the place. So if you like hummingbirds, try to get there. It's great. There's also, if I'm lucky, yes, there was a coati on the grounds, a white-nosed coati. And there were some weird insects like this stick insect. Thank you. And the banana quit, these we've seen these in the Caribbean as well. The banana quit is, I don't think it makes much farther north, but it might make it to Florida once in a while. Little tiny bird that is very easy around people. They'll get on your table and try to steal the sugar out of your sugar bowl. This is a tanager. It's Passerini's tanager. It's a female. This little bird might be one of the prettiest ones we saw. Little tiny bird. It's maybe the size of maybe a small sparrow, I guess. It's the golden-browed Chlorophonia. Beautiful little bird. And also a really beautiful woodpecker. This is the golden olive woodpecker. This one is a red-legged honey creeper. It's a pretty well-known bird, really beautiful. As well, there we go. Blue-gray tanager is another pretty common bird in Central America and in South America, I think. Beautiful tanager. And then another dinosaur. I love photographing these guys. They look so cool. Great kiskadee again. And our great egret that we're all familiar with. This one is the pronged-billed barbet. And you can see it's got kind of an unusual bill with the lower mandible has a notch in it, and the upper mandible has a sharp bill point that goes into that notch. It's a barbet. Another hummer is the green-crowned brilliant. And again, you notice Deanna is not in the picture, taking a picture of us at another very difficult lunch. As you can see, we were roughing it. Bob knows how to put a good program together. It was wonderful. Then we went back to the Caribbean, and this is now, we're really kind of in the jungle now. We're at La Selva Biological Station, and it's in the Caribbean lowlands. And this place is very famous for scientific research on rainforests and biology. People from all over the world come there. There's a lot of students, a lot of research going on, and it's much more Spartan as a campus normally would be than these fancy hotels. But La Selva was phenomenal. It was a wonderful place to go. So in the rainforest, this is the only picture that I took in my previous Costa Rica trip that's in this tonight. It's our strawberry poison dart frog, these little tiny frogs that can be found, especially when it's raining a lot. And you find them in forests like this if it's really pouring rain. And here's this river is one of the many rivers at La Selva. And here's that bird again, the great kiskadee. And you can tell it's raining and the birds are out singing. So we have another bunch of hummingbirds. And this one is the rufous-tailed. And I think in La Selva, this was the most common hummingbird we saw, the rufous-tailed. There's another shot of it. Beautiful little hummingbird. This is another motmot, the broad-billed motmot. There were collared peccaries. There were common basilisks, another real prehistoric looking lizard. And then this is a spectacular tanager called the golden hooded tanager. There were some chestnut-sided warblers. I know we're getting chestnut-sided warblers here in Southern California right now. Here's another one. And this is Passerini's tanager. This is the male Passerini's tanager. So at La Selva, there was this congregation area where you could sit out under, especially if it was raining, go over all your bird lists and what camera you're using and what your f-stops and all that kind of stuff. And also there was a communal place for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. This cute little guy is called a white-collared manakin, little tiny guy, kind of the size of a bush tit. And this is a white-tipped dove, another iguana. This is a large bird called a guan. This is a crested guan, G-U-A-N. This is kind of like the toucans. This is an aracari, collared aracari. And if you're into birding and you don't find that bird exciting, I don't know. That's like, you look at that and you go, oh my goodness, what a wonderful bird, you know. Another motmot, Rufus motmot. Another trogon. This is our gartered trogon. Up in the sky, semi-plumbeous hawk. And we had red lord parrots. This is kind of like, looks kind of like the pileated woodpecker. This is the pale-billed woodpecker. Really pretty large bird too. And there were monkeys, white-faced capuchins, and squirrels. This is a variegated squirrel. And this is a white-crowned parrot and a tropical kingbird. And when we first saw the bird, the tropical kingbird was on that perch. The parrot flew in and very quickly went up and knocked off the tropical kingbird, and the parrot took the roost. Another tanager is Carmiel's tanager. And they're turkey vultures, of course. This large bird is a gray-headed chakalaka. So that was La Selva, and then we went and took off back to San Jose and birded along the way. This is a black striped sparrow. This is what we did along the way also. Another trogon along the way. This is Baird's trogon. Black-bellied hummingbird, crested caracara, and some jacanas. This is a juvenile and the adult jacanas. There were these really long, huge nests, and these are made by this Montezuma's Oropendula, it's called. Big, large blackbird with yellowtail. red-lord parrots. And then the last couple of birds, they're called seed finches. This one is a thick-billed, and this one is the Nicaraguan seed finch. And so all these seed finches and oropendulas and jacanas, and it was a challenge just to keep up with what kind of a bird is that, you know. For me, it was quite a lesson. But that's the wonderful thing about visiting another country. They have a whole nother suite of animals and birds, and it's really fun and a great place to see a lot of birds. And I apologize for my dang computer giving me trouble, but that's the end of it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Randy. That was wonderful. You have some great photos.
Yeah, thanks. I'm not sure what's the matter with my keyboard, but it was giving me fits. Anyway, apologize for that part. But anyway, I hope you like the birds.
Fabulous. How many days was the trip? I was going to ask.
Yeah, it's about 14 days.
14 days. Fabulous.
We were at each place about 2.5 days.
Excellent.
Yeah, and we, you know, from going from one area to the other was quite a long drive sometimes, but we birded pretty much along the way unless we were for some reason in kind of a hurry. So occasionally we would, you know, pull over and get out and see some more cool stuff along the side of the road.
Did you get into any of the areas where they have geothermal activity where you can get in the hot pools and then watch the volcanoes erupting?
No, no, we did not. I don't remember that anyway, if we did.
Okay. Okay.
This trip was designed as a bird photography trip,
right?
And so that the emphasis was mostly on getting to where we could possibly photograph all these different birds. Yeah.
Hey, Randy, stop sharing your screen so we can see everybody.
Oh, thank you. Thanks. Yes, thank you for that. Oh, perfect. Oh, hi, Gayla. Hi, Barb and Bill. Nice to see you.
You have a question in the chat. Is the Cayman lizard dangerous, mean?
The Cayman lizard?
Oh, Rob and Friedrich and Sharon Houston.
I don't, well, the Cayman, C-A-I-M-A-N, is a type of small crocodile. And I think if it bit you, it'd probably give you a nice bite, but I don't think it's dangerous like a big crocodile or an alligator. They're not really big, but they sure are photogenic, aren't they? They're wonderful, yeah.
Oh.
Any other questions?
Fantastic.
What time of year did we go? I don't remember. Was it spring or fall?
No, we actually left 8 years ago, almost today.
Wow. 8 years. Wow.
Oh, so it was January. Wow.
Yeah, January, like the middle of January is when we left. So I realized that it was like an eight years ago, almost maybe today is the anniversary of when we left. You know,
we need to go back. Wow. That was great.
Yeah.
January is a good time to go. Apparently there's less rain. That's when we went to, or I went. Bill didn't go.
Bill, why didn't you go, Bill? Yeah, that's what we were told too. Bob Shannon, you know, designs these trips for ease and also photography, etc. And of course, you want to go when you have your best option, best weather.
Right.
So usually goes late January, early February, which is when you're going. It should be great. Yeah.
I didn't see any photos with your mosquito hats on your nets. Your net on your.
Deanna, do you remember having a lot of bug problems?
Not there, no.
No, not there. No, I don't either.
No.
Not that time of the year, at least.
Right. Yeah. So, and I think it's, you know, it's a crapshoot. You could get there a certain place and they just had a lot of rain and all of a sudden the mosquitoes explode. That's possible, of course, but it didn't seem to be an issue for us at all.
Okay, good. Good.
Yeah.
Do you know if Bob is going to have another trip soon?
Well, I haven't heard from him whether he would. I actually asked him, be sure to let us know if he wanted to go. You know, we would like to go again. We love it.
I'd like to go again.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. It's wonderful. Oh, Jean Greenstead. Hi, Jean.
I thought of a question that some people might have based on a comment you made, Randy. Do you feel like a tripod is necessary in a spotting scope, or You know, did most people have spotting scopes?
No, Noel, our guide, definitely had a spotting scope and binoculars. And he also was doing photography with his camera on his scope. So that's how he was photographing. But the group, the birders for the most part, we came with long lenses. And a lot of it, I don't remember if I brought a tripod, but there were some people that did bring tripods, and we needed them once in a while, but it's pretty challenging to hear a bird flying overhead that's 50 yards away, and you want to get a picture of it and you're on a tripod. It's pretty tough. And so for the, I did bring it, because when we did basically a stakeout for the resplendent quetzal, we all stood there with our cameras on our tripods aiming at these avocado trees down the slope. That was definitely one of the times we needed a tripod. So if you're going there with a goal to get a good picture of a resplendent quetzal, a tripod would probably be a good idea. If you're trying to get a picture of that hawk eagle flying overhead, not much. Very difficult in that case. If you have a camera you can handhold, that'll work a lot better for the most part. Yeah.
So I have a question. I have heard for many years that a lot of Americans fall in love with Costa Rica and move down there. And I was wondering if you like encountered any on your trip, or what side of the country do they live on? Or is there a place where most of the Americans kind of live, or foreign people, or?
Yes, and yes.
Oh, okay.
First of all, just to preface this, we have financial planner helper people. We used to have the Costa Rica plan as one of our plans for retirement back in the 80s. When I couldn't afford to retire, I wanted to retire to Costa Rica because it's got almost everything you could want if you love nature, and the people are wonderful. And in those days, it was inexpensive, and so yes, Americans are there in droves. And just like what they did to Oregon and Washington, the price of property went up when all of the rich Americans showed up. So property is more expensive now.
Wow.
But there was a time when we were thinking about, there was an option when we could afford it to buy a villa with an ocean view on a hill, a full-time man and woman taking care of us, cooking, cleaning, guard, handyman included in the price, for something like you needed $3,000 American a month, and you put your money in Costa Rica Bank. They take care of all your health insurance and the whole bit. And so it was very good for Americans to retire there, because the Costa Ricans wanted your money and welcomed everybody. And so around San Jose, the capital, there's all these different enclaves with different personalities. Many of them are expats from the United States. Yeah. But, so yes.
Rob Friedrich here in Houston. We are not real birders. I mean, we like looking at the pictures. They were wonderful and great and everything. When you're out there and you're taking these pictures, how, I assume the guide is helping you identify them, obviously.
Absolutely.
Telling you where they are. But then now, how did you keep track of that to tell us now? Did you have a little notebook that you filled out, and then at night you went back and got the spellings correct and all the data on them and everything?
Very good question. So Noel knew he was dealing with serious bird photographers. And I think a lot of good bird guides, even in California, when you go on a birding thing with a guide, often at the end of the walk, you'll talk about, okay, this is what we saw today. If you want, I'll email you the list, that kind of thing. That happens. But so Noel gave us this booklet, and every day was a list of all of the birds and animals that would be available in Costa Rica. And then we would, and I had a date.
Oh, mark them off.
And then we would mark them off. And at the end of every day, we had a seance with Noel, where we would go through, okay, did anybody see this? And this was that. And we would talk about what we saw and all that sort of thing. And then also, there's this, Birds of Costa Rica.
I've got that.
And I have behind me all of those are bird and animal ID books for the most part, you know, and that's sort of my thing is I like to ID animals and stuff. And so all my photos are keyworded with the species and the location and the date and the time, not always the time, where they were taken. So I can usually give you a smoother presentation than I did tonight. For some reason, my keyboard was messing up, but normally I can tell you what we're looking at because I've got it keyworded in the photos already.
Can you come over to my house and do that for all my?
Well, there is, I mean, I don't know if you're aware of it. There is a very good program for photographers called Adobe Lightroom. If you're into photography and you want to organize your photographs, that's the kind of, for me, the pinnacle. Makes it a lot easier.
That and a lot of time.
Yes, well, that's my hobby. You know, I could be doing this or getting in trouble in bars or something, so I do this instead. You know, right, Dan?
Yeah, it's a good thing.
That's right. I used to spend about an hour a day playing with my photographs and stuff.
At least.
Yeah.
I think you need to show them your shirt, Andy. You can't really see it.
It's pretty good.
Very good. I like that.
It's a gift from his sister.
Yeah, from my sister.
Great.
She's reminding me how young I am. Oh, well.
That's great.
So one thing, Randy, one of the things I really appreciated in Costa Rica, and I don't know if it's still true, is you could go anywhere and drink the water.
Yes, I don't
Still
think
the same?
as far as I know. Now, again, I'm talking 8 years ago, but I would assume things have improved. I would like to think they've improved. Dan and I we've been to Costa Rica 3 times, I think. And we were always impressed with how nice the people were. The Costa Ricans,
Yes.
very friendly, very nice. They drive like drunk teenagers. You have to be aware of that. It's a scary roads, very scary roads.
Wow.
But yeah, but other than that, and it's interesting, like if you're standing in San Jose, big city, lots of traffic, and you want to get across the street, find a woman with her children crossing the street. That's like a thing. They tell you to do this. And you get right with them. And when she crosses, you cross. Because it's a crapshoot. They don't stop for pedestrians.
Jeez.
Wow.
Yeah, and there's little things like that, you know. Costa Rica's got great coffee and great, it's called Lozano. It's a wonderful sauce that I special order still because I love it so much. But it's a neat place, it really is.
Gallo Pinto.
What's that?
Gallo Pinto.
Gallo Pinto, I don't know that. Is that what it's called? Oh, mine is called
Rice and beans.
Oh, rice. Oh, yeah, a lot of rice and beans.
3 meals a day.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of rice and beans. That's true.
I liked it though. It was good.
Yeah, very good. Yeah,
Well, that was great, Randy. I really enjoyed that.
Thanks.
Yeah. Randy, did you have any trouble with electricity? Yeah, having enough electricity? Did you go off grid, or do they all have generators?
Yeah, I mean, we were in some pretty civilized places.
Yeah.
And even Celeste up at the top of that volcano, I don't recall. A lot of places, you know, they'll shut if they're on generators.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of places like that are on generators, and they'll say 9 o'clock, no more electricity, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
I don't recall that, but it's certainly possible that you might, you know, you need to find out, are you shutting the power off at 10 o'clock, you know?
Right.
Get everything charged up before 10 o'clock.
Exactly.
That's a must.
Internet connection was pretty good.
I don't know. I don't think
I was going to add that because I remember in that one mountain lodge we were in that was so beautiful that we had to use a hotspot. Our guide had a hotspot with his cell phone that he set up.
Yeah.
Here's my big cat.
I see
Came
that.
to visit. That big guy. I think he's like,
Yeah,
what's
so
going on?
I you know, this again, it was 8 years ago, so I don't know. Now I would think it's improved.
It's probably better, yeah.
Probably better.
But still in the remote locations, you know, just like anywhere here, it's hard to get internet service sometimes.
Yeah.
But that's kind of, you know, that's good. It's not a bad thing.
Yeah, in a way, you know, it's going trying to get away from it all. I hope.
Yeah.
So you ate, I saw that in a couple of places you ate outdoors. Like it was maybe a covered area, but outdoors. So the weather is good all the time then, right?
I love the weather all the time, yeah.
Okay.
Yes. I mean, there was one of the earlier trips to Costa Rica, we were in Tortuguero, which is right at the Caribbean jungle, and it rained so hard we almost drowned standing up.
Wow.
I mean, we couldn't breathe. We had to get into a telephone booth. I'm not exaggerating. For a while, it was the most rain I've ever seen. And in San Jose, there was a point where it started raining in San Jose, and we're standing on the street, and all of a sudden, and it was on a slope, the street became a raging river, and you would not want to try to cross it. I mean, the water volume was off the charts.
Wow.
In a rainforest, that's a rainforest, you know. But for the most part, you know, the rain was not a problem. When we were lucky, maybe, with all the weather. But you know, rainforest, it rains a lot, you know. but we ate outdoors all the time, and it was great. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a cool treat. Yeah.
Big treat. Yeah, very much in nature, you know.
Randy, that's something too. You had the protective coatings for your camera lenses and stuff. I noticed it in some of the pictures, you know, for rain. You need to go there prepared that your gear is going to be out in the rain at some point.
Right. You can buy a raincoat if you've got a nice, big camera, big lens and stuff or whatever. They have stuff you can buy that's actually a raincoat for your camera, so you can keep using it and it can get rained on. But yeah, all your electricity in the water is, you know, it's a challenge. So you got to be careful.
A raincoat for, is it like a raincoat for your camera? So I'm sorry, I was already thinking about that. So it's something you put over your camera?
Yep. And it's got, you know, and they're designed for each specific lens and body. So the thing for the camera body will have windows so you can see the gauges and stuff.
Oh, that's fabulous.
There'll be well, it's all relative, but I mean, I was carrying a very expensive lens in those days, and I think the raincoat for that lens was $100.
Over here. We'll sit over.
Yeah.
Oh, I can see just fine.
Is there one place that you would like to go back to? And is there a place that you missed that you would like to go to?
In Costa Rica?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I would go back to any of the places I mentioned there in a heartbeat. I would love to go to Savegre again. I would love to go to Cano Negro. I'd love to go to La Selva. That El Toro cataract place was the Garden of Eden. It was so beautiful, you know. So I don't know that I would pick one. I mean, if you're going to go there, try to go to as much as you can, you know. But, for me, the most disappointing thing in Costa Rica was the first time we went to the northwest Pacific coast, specifically to go scuba diving. Again, this is when I was dreaming about retiring in Costa Rica, because at the time, scuba diving was everything for me. And the diving was mediocre to poor, better right off the beach here. To get good scuba diving in Costa Rica, you need to get on a boat and go 40 hours by boat to Cocos Island, and then it's phenomenal. But that's a long boat ride.
That's a long boat ride.
Yeah.
Were you near Tamarindo?
Yes, that's where we were, near Tamarindo. And we were there again for diving. We weren't birding per se, you know what I mean?
Well, that's a good place to surf, I understand.
Yes, that's right. So a lot of, and that's one of the reasons maybe why the diving wasn't that great, but it was it just wasn't that great compared to what I was hoping for. So I guess there is something that was not so terrific. That's a pretty small thing, really. Everything else is terrific. Yeah, really good.
Are there other places in Costa Rica that you'd like to go to that you didn't cover tonight?
Yes, all of the ones that I didn't cover tonight. And I know that's. I mean, I don't have a name specifically, but I would love to go there. Plus, I'd like to go to Nicaragua and Panama, and especially heard Panama is very cool place to visit as well. And they're all, I would assume, you know, Guatemala, Belize, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, Panama, they're all Central America. So they all have a lot in common, I would imagine. And it's, politics and money and transportation, those are all considerations. Costa Rica wins that one hands down. All of the creature comfort, safety, and all that stuff. I think Costa Rica's the best bet, personally. But
yeah, Randy, I think our trip was what, a couple weeks?
2 weeks.
Yeah. So
14.
and Bob made sure we went to each different type of habitat.
Yep.
So but you know, that was still limited in time to what we could have, where we could have gone. So, you know, it depends on how much time you have, what you can see.
Right. Yeah, there's an Arenal volcano and lake. That's where everybody always goes. We didn't.
Oh, that I've heard of that. Yeah, we're going there for sure.
We didn't go there. We went to places similar, but we were going for birds, and we were most of the time we were the only game in town when we were out in the wilds. You know, there wasn't lots of people around.
Right.
Arenal would be more touristy, I think, perhaps. I don't know.
Is Noel, is he the same fella that Bob always goes with? Okay.
Noel,
I liked him too.
He's
amazing.
Yeah. His company is called Tropical Feathers.
Yeah.
And just to plug him, and if you wanted to go online, it's www.CostaRicaBirdingTours.com. If you wanted to see what he's up to, but really nice guy, very knowledgeable.
Yeah.
He showed us the birds, man. He really did.
Yeah.
Yeah, but one more question in the chat. Did you see an emerald toucanet?
Emerald toucanet, I don't think I don't think so. But I could check. I got the list, but I'm not sure. And again, I showed you pictures that were from pretty good to average. I took pictures, and sometimes we couldn't get pictures of a lot of the stuff we saw, of course, you know. So I may have seen it, just not in the show. I kind of forgotten. But yeah, there's some really killer birds there, really great birds.
I'd like to put it out there. If anyone's going to Costa Rica, and let me know, I'd love to go along with you. I tried to get on with Jan and her sister, but there's been no room on that trip that they're going on. I've had Costa Rica on my bucket list for a long time.
Wow.
I've got, I have 3 books I've had for 10 years ready to go.
Wow.
Wow.
So yeah, if anybody hears of one and they're going, let me know.
Yeah, and you could contact Noel, for example, and get on one of his groups. I mean, I know I have a friend that he'll call somebody, he'll want to go someplace. It could be Indonesia, and he'll call a resort on a Friday to see if he can go to Indonesia the following Monday. Yes. And he often will get half off or more because he'll fill a spot, and he'll bargain with them over the phone. He does it. It's unbelievable. So that's another, if you're willing to do something like that, it does work occasionally, because they want the bodies there. If they got a group going out and they take 12 and only 11 of them are going,
sure,
sometimes you might, anyway.
Okay.
That's great.
I'm not that gutsy. I like to have my trip planned a year in advance usually.
Right.
But anyhow.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments?
Love it.
Yeah. Great presentation.
Beautiful.
Fabulous. Thank you. Fabulous.
Great presentation. Thank you so much, Randy.
Where are you going next?
Indiana.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, Indiana.